The modern world is facing a global financial crisis. Time to make important decisions of unprecedented proportions. Nations are drowning in debt bondage, their economies held hostage by Jesuit creditors under neocolonialism, global financial colonization. Individuals are commercially trapped in a cycle of borrowing and repayment, struggling to make ends meet. This is not a natural disaster, but a man-made financial crisis, rooted in centuries of neo-colonial economic exploitation and political injustice and human rights ignorance. The Ethiopian Holy Scriptures warns against the dangers of debt bondage, proclaiming in Proverbs 22, verse 7, "The rich rule over the poor, so that the borrower government is slave to the Jesuit lender." Debt has become a deified psychological Jesuit tool of religious and political control, used to subjugate indigenous nations and sovereign private individuals alike. Countries are forced to adopt austerity measures, cutting essential services and sacrificing the well-being of their citizens to appease creditors. The people are burdened with servicing crippling astronomical national loans, their lives consumed by the struggle to stay afloat under neocolonialism. This geopolitical Jesuit system of debt peonage is morally reprehensible and economically unsustainable, since it is a gross violation of Article 4 of the Sacred Covenant, UDHR Charter. The consequences of this manufactured global debt crisis are far-reaching, leading to more artificially created poverty, political inequality, and social unrest in global commerce. It undermines a true democracy, as government officials are beholden to Jesuit creditors, rather than their own people who confer political legitimacy. It stifles human development, as natural resources are diverted from essential investments to debt repayment, which maintains the geopolitical Jesuit status quo as an unlawful obligation upon every population. The burden of debt is a heavy one, and it is time to break free from its psychological chains of economic oppression and debt enslavement. The current financial crisis is not an isolated event, but rather the culmination of centuries of predatory Jesuit lending practices and economic exploitation of peoples of African descent. Powerful Jesuit institutions, driven by unquenchable greed and a thirst for world control, have long used debt as a weapon to maintain their dominance and geopolitical status quo. From the Roman Empire to the colonial era, history is replete with examples of Jesuit empires built on the backs of the indebted meek, politically powerless. The Ethiopian Holy Scriptures itself provides a stark warning about the dangers of usury, with Exodus 22, verse 25 stating, "If you lend money to one of my people of African descent among you who is needy, do not treat it like a Jesuit business deal, charge no interest." Yet, despite these biblical warnings, the practice of usury has persisted throughout history, with devastating consequences in the information age of the 21st century. In our modern era, this geopolitical Jesuit system of financial exploitation has only become more sophisticated and insidious. Complex financial instruments in a Federal Reserve floating currency system and opaque accounting practices obscure the true nature of the debt enslavement of entire populations. Global financial institutions, with their vast riches and influence, wield immense economic power over national governments and international organizations without the sovereign will of the people's consent. Today, in 2025, with new human rights enlightenment that empowers the sovereign will of the people under Article 21.3 of the Sacred Covenant, UDHR Charter, the Jesuit-taught politicians will become liable and held accountable for their actions or inaction in political negligence, if they choose to maintain the geopolitical Jesuit status quo to their own incompetence. Furthermore, to evolve from this geopolitical Jesuit system of neocolonialism based on whitewashed lies and falsehoods, we must comprehend that our international human birthrights are interconnected, interrelated, interdependent, and inherent upon all human lives. Since the UDHR preamble states that freedom and democracy is based upon the inherent dignity, priceless value, found within every human being, which must be protected by the international rule of law without distinction nor partiality. Wise up to your international human birthright to life, liberty, and the diplomatic security of your human personality status in private humanitarian diplomacy as a sovereign private individual in our modern world of social democracy, political choices. As this is an individual human birthright in which no bankrupt government service corporation can secure or protect without your registered birth certificate contract as a legal debt instrument in the law society. Article 4 prohibits slavery of humanity in all its forms, So we, the people of the planet, must demand international justice, just political action, to immediately implement social and political human rights transformations as a common goal. Give thanks for your attention, and if you would like to experience a quantum human rights entanglement in collective security, all for one creator and one creator for all, then feel free to contact the risen Ethiopian Shiloh at the Kingdom of Debrecen, 2020@gmail.com in human rights love, obedience to law, and universal solidarity, so that we can manifest a peaceful, non-violent human rights to life decolonization protest in civil disobedience at the Jamaican Ministry of National Security on the 26th day of May 2025, 11 a.m., to depose the British impostor as King of Jamaica, legally and lawfully. Selah.